Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome to a very special Morning Joe with Christina and Brooke. We are 100% uncensored today. Typically, our rhythm for this meeting has been to come together, talk about a topic, prep, and then get in. And what we've learned is that real raw prep where no one knows what each other is going to say tends to be our best discussion and conversation. We're like, man, why didn't we record this? So you all get that today. We have a topic in mind, which is the new norm. This feels like the new normal for everybody, moving online. Brooke brought up last week, without prompting, no prep here, that a new habit is formed after 90 days. We're about 45 days into this. And so we're halfway to a new norm. And so it's starting to feel like this is life. So we're going to talk about that here with you today. Before we jump into what the new norm looks like and our individual takes on that, I would love to just give a really important and special shout out to our number one fan. She's always there with us, watching our live stream, commenting, liking. She is our number one Morning Joe with Christina and Brooke fan, and we love her so much. This is Miss Amanda Taylor and her beautiful. She is the winner of our basket luxury giveaway. So, mwah, thanks for being our number one fan, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. And
So,
how amazing for Teacher Appreciation Week that she would get that, right? You know,
good
working in a school. I love it.
Yeah, serendipitous.
Yay.
So with that, I don't know who I'm passing it to. Whoever has something to say about the new norm.
I have my first thought was when you mentioned that Brooke said it takes 90 days for a new habit. My first thought was like, well, gosh, can I start now? Because I'm not sure my first 45 went the way they were. Can today be day one of whatever the 90-day new habit thing is going to be?
Yeah.
Totally. That was like a trial run those last 45 days.
God,
Yeah.
I totally feel like it.
Yeah. And you know what I think is super cool? Joe, were you going to say something or did I cut you off?
Nah, you're good, bro.
Thank you. I was thinking like, it's a little scary for people to try to change, right? And adapt to a new normal because what is the new normal? But I'm kind of looking at it from like a backwards lens, like whatever we came from, you know, just kind of taking for granted so much. And right, like everything is mindset and everything is how we look at things. So I know a lot of Florida is now being opened, right? So I see people on the golf course, our community pool is open. I don't understand why the pool is open over the ocean, but that's a whole other story. Um, and we just take for granted, like, wow, we can go in a pool. Wow, we can go outside. Yesterday, my boyfriend and I went downstairs outside to get something from my car, and we turned around and looked at the sunset. I don't know if you guys saw that sunset last night.
I have a picture.
Of course, Christina saw the sunset. It's like the thing that she does every day. Of
I'm looking at
course.
my husband's phone because I couldn't find mine. It was so bright and pink, right?
Yes, it was
So
vanilla
pink.
sky. It was just, and then you look on the south side or the east side and the west side, and you were seeing two different things. You saw
Mm-hmm.
the moon on one side and you saw the sunset on another side. It was just breathtaking.
Amazing.
Yeah. But being more grateful for the things that you have now, right? And realizing that we took for granted so much. So, as far as a new normal goes, I think that we're kind of like taking our brains and restructuring them in a sense of not getting those like dopamine kicks that we used to get all the time from just like constant feedback and immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like retraining our brain to be grateful and get dopamine and be happier and just kind of like enjoy the little things.
So how do you think we stay there? Because I hadn't thought at all about what you just said, and it's such a great concept. The idea that hey, we've gone a month and a half without. Now that we're slowly being given the opportunity to dive back into living with those things, and you're noticing, oh my goodness, just walking outside feels like this great gift. Like just being able to open the door and breathe on the way to the mailbox or see a sunset. How do you think? Do you have any ideas? And from anybody, any ideas on what we can do practically to like to stay in that space where it's not just that we're grateful today? Because you know how we are. We're like the worst, man. People are the worst. Like it's so easy for us to feel so amazing and wonderful today, right? It's like day one of the new diet. I'm starting Weight Watchers today, or I'm starting this today. So excited, so
Not nice,
stoked.
Joe. Not nice.
I'm not talking about anyone in particular. I'm just throwing it out there as an example, right? You're so motivated, you're so excited. And then like a week later, it's like, whatever. And a month later, it's like, oh, I forgot I was even doing that thing.
Yeah.
Well,
This, I think, has the potential to dig so much deeper because it has something to do with like the dynamic of how we view ourselves, the dynamic how we maintain our family, our work. I wonder how we can stay in that space as long as possible of just being grateful and being appreciative and kind of remembering that, man, we didn't have this, and now that we do, like I want to remember it and take advantage of it and be grateful for it.
I bet Brooke knows how many days it takes to form a habit.
well, technically speaking, it's 21 days, but I don't really believe that because there's different stages of a habit. So the first 10 suck, right? Because
Mhm.
you're doing something totally different. It feels uncomfortable. The next 10 days, all right, it's starting to feel more comfortable. And then the last 10 days, you're really locking it in. However, like you said, Joe, after a month, you're making this really good progress. And then all of a sudden you start falling down. And that's where you need someone to pick you up. So a coach or
Mm.
a friend or, a significant other, whatever, having someone who can hold you accountable, but also having a journal of where you started, where you came from, and then understanding your why, right? Understanding your why is so important. Like, when better things in your mind come up and want to veer you off in a different direction, you have to go back to your motivation behind doing whatever.
Well said, Brooke. So true. Accountability. That really stuck for me. Getting someone to understand your full picture, your vision, help remind you of your why and get you into that daily practice when you yourself have fallen out. They know how important it is to the bigger you, even though in that little moment it sounds like, nah, I don't want to do that, but they keep pushing and reminding you. Actually, this makes me think of my daughter because she's my big why today. She's, the future for me. This is what I'm pouring all my love and attention to. She's important. And this new normal at this point in time is not sitting well with her. She's more emotional than ever. She melts down easier. And this is a really well adjusted, mature second grader going into third grade. And I'm seeing her act out of character. And I'm just trying to figure out why. And I really think that she is craving that cognitive stimulation. She's very bright and online learning's great, but it's not enough. She needs more. And getting into the new norm, I'm concerned about what summer looks like for her. She needs an accountability partner. She's super smart and creative, and she'll develop new processes for this whole world in her free time. But the way that electronics are designed today are so highly addictive. She can waste an entire day on YouTube and watching television unsupervised and without that schedule and accountability. So my new norm is figuring out a new norm for my daughter as we head into summer, because in 4 weeks, the little bit of instruction that she does have is no more. And what does that look like? Am I going to have a really unadjusted, emotional, she'll be 8 at that time, 8-year-old lying on the couch watching TV, developing poor habits? So that's
Well,
that's where my head's at for the new norm.
well, I have two suggestions for
You
you.
always do. So good.
One is I know that Fusion is doing a summer camp, right?
That is at the forefront of my mind. I want her one-to-one. I have her actually sitting, and she knows my teachers pretty well, and she can name them. She's like, oh, I want to make slime with Kim again. I'm like, how do we do that virtually? But yes, yeah, figure out some one-to-one sessions for her. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What else do you
I'm
got?
also doing an executive function happy hour for Coaching with Brooke. So it's 3rd through 6th grade,
I
and
win.
age appropriate. It's a small group, and there's a coach and up to 5 kids, and we're doing things that are social, executive functioning, and just something that each member of the group can do. So whether it be slime or like a brain activity, like guess who, or creating something, it's using the different executive functions. So just 1 hour, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 5:30 p.m. to give you a break and to help her work on her executive function. So I know that you guys are doing that one-to-one. This is a group setting just to get that social piece in also.
Oh, I definitely want to spot Brooke.
Okay.
Definitely. And this is the kind of research I'm getting into now, because I'm pretty sure the full-time, wonderful, diverse summer camps that I have sent her to in the past, it's just not going to be the same, and we need
Yeah.
more.
Sure. Yeah.
So only 5 spots? You
There's
have one?
5. Yes, absolutely. Only 5 spots per age range. So I have a couple of coaches and other people who are interested in teaching. But yeah, only 5 spots. We already have 2 spots taken for the 12-year-old range. But I know Victoria is not 12. So she would fit into another group, which is great.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, something you said there, Christina, kind of took me back to where my mind was going throughout the week when it came to the new normal. Uh, and I thought it'd be worth just kind of throwing out there briefly is my brain kept going back to this professor that I had. It was the last lady that I had to interact with before I was able to graduate and start teaching. She kind of saw herself as like the gatekeeper, right? Like the sentinel for the future of America. And did a very good job throughout that class that we had, just making us pause and consider, like, you know, the impact we were going to have and the positions that we were going into. And one of the things that she did, this might have been the actual last class, was much broader in scope. It was more of a life thing than like a professional thing, where she was like, look, you know, we, of course, you've been training to be great teachers and you have all these skills and strategies. And I really do think the college that I went to prepared me tremendously to be a teacher. But she was like, you know, if your life's not good, if your life isn't also figured out, that stuff's going to bleed into the classroom and you're going to be a disaster.
Wow. I've never heard of a professor doing that.
She was the only one in my 4 years, you know, doing the undergrad. She was the only one that did this. And she used this analogy the last class. She's like, look, like, imagine your life like a stool. And we know that you got to have at least 3 things that are firm for this stool to stand upright. I'm going to give you what my 3 things are. And I think these are the 3 things of life, but you're open to kind of deciding which they might be for you. But the idea is that you have to have them. And for her, they were like career, that you have to be at a place where you're achieving some level of satisfaction with your career. It could be financial success. It could be upward mobility. It could be just personal fulfillment, but you have to have your career part of your life. You got to be satisfied with what's going on there. Might not always be great, but you have to have some hope. You got to be getting something from there. The other one is faith. I don't care what you believe in, but you kind of have to arrive at a place in life where you think you know what's happening here faith-wise. Even if that means you don't think there's anything going on there, cool. But you can rest in the fact that you know that there's nothing going on there. But that as humans, we need that. We kind of need some grounding in what we think about the bigger picture, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other one was family. You got to have friends. You got to have a support system. You got to have people that you can connect with. You got to have that outlet because we're social creatures. So I kept thinking about this professor over the last week, and maybe this goes back to the little joke about, hey, maybe I'm starting over today. I think I might have not done what I should have the first 45 days. Maybe I got to start now with day 1. But the idea that we know that a month from now, it's not going to look the way that it did 6 months ago. Yeah. That 6 months from now, it's not going to look the way it did a year ago. Like, there's so much uncertainty as to what the new normal is going to be in terms of grocery shopping and school, and what the social distance, are we going to social distance forever? Right? There's people out there saying that, oh, we hope that this causes us to never shake hands again. Like we hope that's a practice that no longer happens because that's a terrible thing for us to do. Maybe this will be the prompting for that. So if those are like the bookends, if those are the possibilities where we might be in a world where we don't shake hands anymore and we're just there, this might not be a bad time. This is where my brain went this last week, that it might not be a bad time to maybe reevaluate what are those stool pegs? What are those 2 or 3 main things that as I'm thinking about, dude, what's going to happen in a month or two are going to be my priority? And that sparked in my mind when you started talking about your daughter, about, about Victoria. We're like, man, that's something that I'm seeing. And that needs to be a priority for me as we're moving into the new normal. That needs to be one of my stool pegs. And maybe your stool has 30 pegs, but it needs at least 3. And I know for me, that's a process that I'm very much starting to go through, is like, dude, I don't know what it's going to look like in a month or two. So what are my steadfast priority, the things that are going to kind of ground me? What are those going to be? And the idea that this might be a great time to do that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome time to do that. I think anyone watching, sorry, Brooke, should put in, what are your 3 posts, the things that you can't live without, you can't stand strong enough without to move forward through the next however long. Put them in the comments. We want to see, and we'll put ours in there too. I love that you brought that up, Joe.
Yeah, and I love the visual of the stool because it's so simple to think about, when you're feeling stuck or you need to create something. And it's so good to reevaluate that, every 3 months, which is a 90-day period. So I like that.
Especially since now we have agency over it. We have control over it because we're kind of in this space where we might feel like there's some stagnation going on with those 3 because of just the physical restriction of movement and stuff.
Yeah.
So what better time to think through what we want that to look like as we're going to start being able to venture out into the world and start figuring out what the next thing is going to look like. We have some control over dictating what we want that to look like.
Yeah. I'd be happy to also put the life wheel back in if you want to explore all areas.
Ooh.
Obviously, it's a little bit more than 3 areas. And then also like a spring cleaning your goals sheet. So once you figure out what areas you want to work on, creating goals and deadlines by that. So I'll put that in the comments as well.
You're always so good for resources. Thank you, Brooke.
You guys come up with ideas, I just provide.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we would love to hear from you guys out there in Facebook land. Tell us how today's Morning Joe with Christina and Brooke went. Do you like the new format? Does it feel the same to you? Did it feel a little more natural? We'd love your feedback. We want to know what the pillars of your stool are. And Brooke has some awesome things to tell you about, some giveaways.
So for Teacher Appreciation Week, all of us come from an education background, and we really support educators and parents who are understanding the educator role. So we want to give away 2 hand sanitizers and a stress ball, because I know we need a stress ball right now. So very nicely in your hands.
You could never have too many of those.
Yeah, and now that we're entering the world, we're going to need some of this. So 2 hand sanitizers and a stress ball.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see who we give those things away to next week.
Yay! And what do they need to do to get them?
Yeah, so just sharing or...
Add your comments, share, like, participate with us. Be our #1 fan, just like Amanda Taylor. We see you.
See you,
girl. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll see you next week for Mother's Day.
Yay! Have a great day, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.